Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Darkstone Dossiers with your host, Anthony Darkstone.
And a very good evening, and good afternoon, and a good morning to you, depending on where you are on the planet watching this. We do have a lot of people from different parts and different time zones watching our Darkstone Dossiers. Many will know that these are an SAM production and productions from the SAM International Assembly. What exactly is that? Well, that very simply is another assembly, but it's international. And we have people in it that are from the U.S. and various countries from around the world. And I'm happy to tell you, they literally covered the 4 compass points. How do you get to join that? It's real simple. You go to www.magicsam.com. It's a little gray button with white lettering that says International Assembly. If you click on that, everything you need to know is there. And remember, you don't have to be an American to join the Society of American Magicians. So, having said that, a very warm welcome to all our colleagues and friends and fellow members from the Magic Circle, the IBM, and of course, the SAM, and any other organization you belong to. So thank you for joining us. Tonight's guest is particularly interesting because apart from Francis Willard and his daughter and the Blackstones, I actually don't know of any other magical dynasty apart from the one we're going to talk about tonight. Before we do, I'd like to run a picture. That photo that we're about to put up shows my guest and his father. His father? Yes, his father, standing on a spiral staircase on the steps. If we get to that, we bring that up on the full screen. There it is. Many of us watching tonight have been up and down that staircase. Many of us, in fact, have gone to the left of that staircase to the bar and then had to use the lift afterwards. But this is the magical dynasty I want to talk about tonight, amongst other things, of course. And that is, of course, as you can see, the Right Honorable Mr. David Berglas, MBE, and his son Marvin, who's our guest tonight. Speaking of Mr. Berglas, originally we actually did want him to come on to the show. But Mr. Berglas, shall we say, is moving along in age and couldn't guarantee, in all fairness, and he said, well, you know, I don't know if I'm going to be up to it. Best if you leave me out. But being the gentleman that he is, insisted on sending us a message. So we'll pull up his photograph and the message.
Hi, this is David Berglas from London, wishing all my many American friends all the best and hope you're well. And remember my motto, nothing is impossible.
Well, how cool is that? What a wonderful, gentlemanly thing to do. Class. Pure class. Just as classy is his son, Marvin. But I'm not going to bring him on camera just yet because, you know, people say, oh, well, you know, it's David's son. Well, actually, Marvin is a pretty cool magician in his own right and does a lot of other things quite apart from the fact that he's part of the magical dynasty. So let's pull up the clip as Marvin as a performer.
First-class magician Marvin Berglas is internationally recognized as a leading light in magic and has inspired literally millions of young magicians worldwide. Not only has Marvin put magic back in the spotlight, he has also been very much in the spotlight himself. His innovative performances have amazed and delighted audiences on both sides of the Atlantic. Sports personalities, politicians, and even pop stars can be counted as fans of Marvin's magic.
Well, that gave you a little bit of a taste of the performing skills of my guest tonight. So please put your hands together virtually or otherwise and welcome Marvin Berglas.
Hey, thanks, Anthony. Thank you so much for that very nice introduction. And it really is a great thank you for the invitation to be here. I look forward to telling you all about a fascinating story.
Marvin, welcome. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you here. We have indeed known each other for a few years, probably 20, I guess, really, going back to the halcyon days of Home Counties Junior Magical Championships. And I think you had some kind words to say when my son won the John Hutt Trophy. We've been at odd times, together. We were once thrown out of the Magic Circle. Let me quickly add, so was everybody else, because I was in the middle of an interview with Mandy Davis and the fire alarms went off, so we all had to run outside. Do you remember that? That was fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's cut to everything here, Marvin. Speaking of the Magic Circle, we've shown a couple of pictures of yourself and the Right Honorable Mr. David Berglas, MBE, at the Magic Circle. And when you see him, please say on our behalf, thank you so much for that wonderful greeting that he gave us. Now, the Magic Circle, some people, possibly just 2 or 3, might think is some kind of rival organization. Well, actually it isn't. The SAM and the Magic Circle, for those of you who don't know, I have mentioned this on other shows, are actually sister organizations. There's a lot of camaraderie between the two. Much happens in exchanges. In fact, the current president, Mr. Noel Britton, has attended a couple of our gala shows and other shows. So we have indeed a number of fellow members watching us tonight, and forgive me that I cannot acknowledge all of you. I want to go to the Magic Circle because at one time, Marvin was the vice president. Do you want to speak to us a little bit about that, Marvin, when that was?
Well, sure. I mean, the Magic Circle is obviously a wonderful organization, and for any magician around the world, we'd encourage you to be part of it because there's many great benefits to being a member. Firstly, it's very prestigious and it's difficult to become a member to go up the various ranks, but we basically promote excellence in magic, promoting excellence in magic, and also celebrating its heritage. So we are very lucky in central London. For anybody who visits, we've got the most wonderful headquarters, which we moved into, I think it was 1989. In fact, 1998. My father, David Berglas, who you've talked about, obviously was the then president, and he was responsible for getting magic recognized as an art form, and he raised a lot of money with a group of people, myself included. Actually, we helped promote with various sets and stuff that we did, and literally hundreds of thousands was our target, and it had to go up and up and up, and in the end we got this most wonderful building, which is tucked away very centrally in Euston Station, very near Euston Station, which is one of the central locations of London. And it's an unbelievable thing, because you go through these doors and you would not believe that it's 4 stories high. In the basement, we have the most fabulous magic museum. There's a special museum for magicians only. There's some which has great posters and artifacts that we have tours that the public can come and see. We have our club room upstairs, but it's actually a living museum, because on the walls are some wonderful the history of magic, really, in various art forms and things that you just simply wouldn't see anywhere else. And we have a wonderful staircase, which you've shown, which takes you firstly into the bar and the club room, as we call it, where on a Monday night, all magicians are welcome. And then we have the Devant room, after David Devant, with his bust right in the middle there, a beautiful room with lots of artifacts. And further upstairs, you would not believe that there is actually a beautiful theatre which houses 160 seats, very intimate, very with state-of-the-art equipment, and we've had all the best magicians around the world. So if you come, do that. I've missed one major thing out, and that is right in the basement we have a library, and it's the library we say is the home of 10,000 secrets. It's probably more like 100,000 secrets, because the books that we have are unbelievable. And so these are the benefits if you visit. But if you don't visit, it's great anyway, because we have a digital magazine that you can have, or a hard copy, and there's many things that we share, and it's just a very prestigious thing to be part of, and there's so many different benefits. So I'd recommend for any magician around the world to join.
Thank you, Marvin. As Marvin gave us a little bit of a description of it, it is, to use his words, a living museum. And if you're a magician of any caliber or status, and if you find yourself in London and you're not a member, find someone who is, and they will sign you in as a guest, much the same as the castle in a way. So you have a gentleman in the front door and he will greet you and check if you're a member, etc., and then you go to the bar and then the Monday night. Also, if you are a member, used to be until fairly recently, for pretty obvious reasons that affect us all, no matter where we are on the planet, wonderful, wonderful lectures from some of the top people on the planet who have lectured on that stage. I want to brag a little bit. Me too. I don't know if I was one of the top people, but I was very, very, very honored to have been asked there. And the legendary Roy Marsh was my MC. Some of our colleagues in the UK will know who that gentleman is. Now, Marvin, let's just jump to you because we've talked about the circle. But before we leave the circle, and I talked about Monday nights when things were open and people could go there. Marvin used to sit on the steps of the stage, literally, and he would have with him an hourglass. It was about yay big, and it had sand in it, like most hourglasses, and you would turn it over, and it was exactly 5 minutes. And there were an enormous number of great notables that he would do like little mini interviews for 5 minutes. I believe we have a couple of shots of that called Rabbit and Revelations. And I think we may have another one with Marvin himself. There it is. Yeah, the famous hourglass, which has become iconic now. This one, I'm glad you brought it up, because as I understand it, Alison is also here. Welcome and greetings to you, Alison. Thank you for joining us. This particular picture, I'm going to say a little bit about, and then let Marvin fill in more of the details. This picture is very, very important because the lady on the left of your screen is Mrs. Berglas, David Berglas's mother, and holding a medal. Well, it's a bit more than a medal. It's an MBE, which you receive from the palace. In this instance, it was not the Queen. Marvin will tell us who it was. I believe it was Prince William. The gentleman next to him is Marvin, and next to Marvin is his sister. Over to you, Marvin. I'd like you to tell us a little bit about that wonderful day.
Sure. Well, this was a day that we were all very proud. Big, proud day for the Berglas family because my dad, who is now 94, this was, I believe, last year, was acknowledged, the first ever magician been acknowledged for magic and psychology. And, you know, it's a great honor to have an award from the palace. And we literally were able to drive in through the gates and have a special ceremony with a handful of people who were from all walks of life and celebrities who had been acknowledged in their field for outstanding services. And it really was a great day, and we're all very proud of Dad there. As you say, that's my sister Irina and my very glamorous mum, Ruth, and David. And in fact, I do come from a showbiz family because both parents, obviously Dad, we know, is steeped in show business all his life, and you know, he's actually celebrating over 70 years of mystery now. And my mum was an actress. She was at RADA, which is the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. She was an actress with the likes, in her time, was the likes of Joan Collins, Sheila Hancock, and many well-known luminaries. And so really, magic and showbiz was in my blood, and really, I think that's helped me in many different ways. But I often get the question, how come you didn't just do exactly what your dad did? You know, he has a very special thing. Why don't you just follow into that? And he was hugely successful, as you know. He was the first magician to have his own TV series on commercial TV in the UK back in the 50s and 60s. And he went through so many different styles. And he's obviously very famous for Magic of the Mind now. His strapline is International Man of Mystery. And he has obviously many unique effects. And whilst they're unbelievable and he's revered by magicians all around the world, I wanted to make my own mark in life and in magic. And it just so happens that I went a different route. I love magic, and I would like to say an accomplished magician in sleight of hand and stage and close-up. And so I've done a lot of corporate stuff all around the world and met some unbelievable people. But I decided at the same time to start my own company, which is a magic-related company, and it's called Marvin's Magic. Obviously, very good alliteration, Marvin and Magic, and it really started off with an opportunity I saw, because I've had 2 or 3 businesses simultaneously to that. One of the big store groups here in London for toys, they say the finest toy shop in the world, is called Hamleys, which is on Regent Street, one of our very busy streets here, central London. It's a very famous area that used to be a toy store that used to be very famous for magic, and for many, many years. And they had an ailing magic department. They knew that of a connection, and they thought, can you help or put us in touch with anyone? And a light bulb idea came up, and I was delighted to have a few months to research, put everything together, and I put together a range of products which were beautifully packaged and designed, very sort of red tissue papers. You took everything out, very gift boxy, put in really great magicians to help demonstrate it. And we launched in 6 stores, and this is back in 1987. So we've been going now for 33 years, and thankfully it's gone from strength to strength during that time.
You've actually got stores in 60 different countries. But before we go more into that, which I really, really want to, Marvin, I have a photograph which I would like to share, and I was absolutely stunned when I saw it. A gentleman with some cups and bowls, and it's a sepia tone photograph, and on either side of this gentleman are 2 young boys. Mm-hmm. There it is. We bring that up.
That's a lovely picture.
That one of them is you, and of course, obviously your dad in the middle. So when you spoke about DNA in your blood to do with magic, that pretty much summarizes it. Tell us a little bit about that, if you can remember that far back.
You know what? I can remember it very well. It was 1963. I was, maybe 4 or 5. So it was pretty much my TV debut. It's me and my late brother Pete, very close with, and it was only a year and 2 weeks apart, so we were like twins almost. And this was our favorite TV show. It was called The 5 O'Clock Club. And we used to watch it religiously. So when Dad was asked to be a guest on it, wow, we had to be there. And so we were sitting in the front, not to help or to get on TV. He was going to call a couple of the kids up. And it was a zoo when we were there, because he says, I need a couple of kids to come and help me. And all of a sudden, these hundreds of these kids, and we were right at the back. He goes, I want you and you. And then he got us to the front. It was fun. And I was very nervous. I remember he said, what's your name? And the word didn't come out. I just said, oh, Marvin, that's very nice.
So that was your first major gig, eh?
It was. Just an interesting
How much did you get paid?
Not enough.
Oh, fair enough. Sorry, you were going to make an interesting point. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, the point I was going to say, interestingly enough, Dad was, we were very lucky. We didn't realize how lucky we were growing up, because obviously Dad was doing some amazing things and friends with all the best, showbiz guys and magicians around the world. And one of his good friends from America was the late Marvin Roy, and who was actually my godfather. And I think the world of Marvin. And so my middle name is Roy. So I'm Marvin Roy Berglas. So again, with that combination, how can I not be involved in magic?
Slightly different spelling. Different spelling.
Funny, he originally was spelled M-A-R-V.
Really? Oh,
changed it to the Y. To the
Y. There you go. Well, now how many people can claim to have Mr. Lightbulb himself as a godfather and possess the same names, which of course Marvin's, and now Marvin's Magic. You've got shops in 60 countries. Let's pull up a couple of stills of the shops. Yes.
Just to correct you somewhat, we're not a retailer who has shops. We do actually run some shops in the best shop within shops, within some of the best stores. So, for example, we have demonstrations in the likes of Harrods here in London, and in Selfridges, and in Hamleys or Regency, which I spoke about. In New York, for example, we run the magic shop for FAO Schwartz. And they used to be on Fifth Avenue, and then they moved to Rockefeller Plaza. We're doing some great business. So the previous slide was FAO Schwartz, and this current slide is one of our shops, I think, here in London, in Hamleys. But But in terms of the 60 countries, we're in 64 countries actually where we have our magic. And our magic is supplied through retailers, through online, through all different things. So it's now thankfully a multi-million dollar company, and it's getting bigger and bigger each year. And we have probably the ¡1 brand for magic. So we're very proud of it.
Indeed, you've now gone into, and I'm not a tech guy, as everybody will tell you, into Marvin's iMagic. What's that about for people like me who don't understand these things?
Well, we always try to be very innovative with whatever we do, and product development is something which I still head up and really enjoy. And my background was art and design, and generally I love being involved with the team. We have a creative team in-house, and the retailer's always looking every year at something different. What's new? And magic is a traditional thing, but we have to evolve, and rather than just packaging changes and stuff like that, whilst there are some staple products of things that you'd expect to see in a magic set, we try to always push the boundaries a bit. And the Marvin's iMagic, which you refer to, was launched 2 or 3 years ago and has won many awards. And it's basically a magic set in its own right, which you could use totally perfectly well as a magic set, but it has some added feature. For example, we have the Marvin's iMagic app. And with that, you can use the same props and combine augmented reality with those props. So at the very basic level, you would get the one section in the app. You would then scan the instruction booklet, and all the video instructions on that trick would be shown. So you can see a demonstration on how to do it, which obviously makes it so much easier than how we used to do it, which was just reading. So we have a combination of both. Bear in mind, we have to do this in many different languages, so that helps. But it also, the actual props, for example, if you can imagine that very simple trick that we probably all had in our first magic sets, which is called Crazy Cube, I think, in the States, where you get someone to select a dice, you put it into a little canister, and that goes into another canister, and without looking, you're able to divine whatever number they're thinking. And that is a great trick anyway, but to make it even more special, you get a phone or a tablet and you say, watch this. So put it away so I couldn't possibly know. And then you get your phone and it sort of appears to X-ray, go the picture that they're seeing, and then a 3-dimensional X-ray dice with the number that they chose uppermost would appear inside that. And that's just, it looks like a hundreds of thousands of dollar X-ray machine, but it's just a simple little thing which we devised, and that would be, for example, turning a good trick into a great trick. And there's other things, all sorts of things of that nature. That was just one example of the many tricks inside it.
How do people get to this, Marvin? I mean, yes, obviously, as you rightly pointed out, they're not stores in the sense of the word, stores within larger stores like Harrods, Selfridges, and Schwartz, sure, etc. Now, if someone wanted to get a hold of these, and the reason I'm also asking is because later on when we put this all on tape and edit it, etc., we can actually put it up on the screen. So could you tell us the link or email or?
Sure. Well, I suppose the easiest way would be through Amazon for people. That a lot of our products are on Amazon, especially in the UK, but all around the world we have some products on Amazon. If there's something specific that's not on there, you can obviously look at the Marvin's Magic website, which is marvinsmagic.com, M-A-R-V-I-N-S, magic.com. How's that for an advert?
Yeah, that's easy. Why not? Yeah, that's what it's all about. Is there an apostrophe after Marvin's for the website?
No, there is obviously normally, but in the online
website. Well, I'm just asking so then our editor can actually put it up. It's Marvin's, MARVINSMAGIC.com. Have I got it right?
Yes. Do you think I'll retire early on the proceeds of the people who will order one now? Do you think so?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Do you think I will retire early on the proceeds of the people that will buy a set now?
Well, I never make predictions off stage, Marvin, but you know, twist my arm. Twist my arm. Speaking of cubes and things, we have a wonderful photograph of you and a particular gentleman, which is just going to come up on the screen. I'm going to remain silent and let you tell the story behind it.
Well, we're talking about innovations and things, and obviously everyone knows of the very, very famous Rubik Cube, and it is the 40th anniversary of Rubik Cube. They've sold literally 250 million of these things around the world, and there's 43 quintillion combinations and permutations. So a lot of magicians have been using Rubik's cubes and for effects recently, and with their 40th anniversary, they approached us, which was very prestigious, and that picture is the actual inventor of the Rubik Cube, Erno Rubik from Hungary. And this is the launch of our new product, which we did a collaboration, which was Marvin's Magic and Rubik's Amazing Box of Tricks. So it's called Rubik's Amazing Box of Magic Tricks. And it's a giant, the box itself, I actually got one here. The box itself is a giant Rubik's Cube. So
oh, wow.
It's really cool. That's where you house all the things inside it. And once the lid comes off, it's how, you know, it's really a keepsake kind of box with tons of really great things. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but you know, check it out. It's a really nice item, and we've had an international launch that only launched a couple of weeks ago, and it's sold in many different territories, and it's going to be big. It's been really well received.
Well, that's a nice thing to just own and have on a shelf. You know,
Yeah,
obviously you're going to use this stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
even for the box, it's fun. But the actual stuff inside is really cute and, you know, a little bit innovative and simple to do. And, you know, which we're all about professional magic made easy. In other words, we're trying to encourage the magicians of tomorrow, how they get to the next stage. And so we have different ranges. For example, you know, everyone probably has got a magic set once in their life. But for us, it was so important that you have success with that magic set. It's got to have good instructions so you can understand them. Be age appropriate, have the props that are quality and appropriate for the little hands that might be using them. And so rather learn, and this is all really stuff that my dad probably taught me and ingrained with me when I was younger, which has helped learn a few tricks really well rather than lots badly. You know, that's a great motto. And if you have success, as we all know as magicians, if you have success with a handful of tricks that you can do really well, you're the life and soul of the party or at school or whatever, and people then want the next one and the next one, and then you obviously would gravitate to learn more. And that's, we've encouraged so many magicians. I mean, we start them off, as I say, Magic Made Easy, which is probably 4 to 8 years old even, and then it goes up to our sort of mind-blowing magic, which is a bit more 8 to 16-year-old, a bit more streetwise and edgy. We have a new range of unbelievable magic and even executive magic, which is how to make money appear in front of your bank manager. Very useful in these times, you know.
Well, I think I'm glad you mentioned that, because in a lot of your own personal corporate gigs, there are many people in the corporate world, executives and otherwise, who have actually spoken to you. So how do I do that? How do I learn that? And you have a section, if I'm correct, correct me if I'm wrong, on Marvin's Magic, which is, shall we say, the more kind of executive-y type things that they could use?
Yes, our limited edition set, for example, is a beautifully presented set, and we find we run a magic academy in some very top classy resorts, like in Sardinia at the Forte Village Resort, and there's, you know, private lessons and all sorts of guys who really want to use magic for a variety of reasons, and so we have a lot of things of that ilk, but I'm not sure if you were alluding to the sort of corporate magicians who come up through our ranks. I don't know if that's what you mean.
Well, I wasn't, but actually that would be my next question, because Marvin's Magic and indeed yourself have been, to use the word loosely, responsible for a number of names that have kind of come up through the ranks, so to speak, from very young children.
Well, absolutely. Well, bear in mind, you know, as I said, we started 33 years ago, 1987, and you know, we would have run these demonstrations in some key stores 365 days a year. So and with all the long hours that the stores were open, we've had a lot of magicians that work through as demonstrators. And what's really nice, it's actually a fantastic grounding for any performer, because where else can you get paid to sort of learn and perform, get people's skill? I mean, it's the same disciplines as when you're on stage or doing close-up. You know, you've got a lot of distractions. You've got people coming through the door. You've got to make them stop and watch what you're doing. They've got to see you, hear you, see it very clearly. And then be engaged in what you're doing. And then the applause, the equivalent of the applause would be them buying it. That means they trust you enough to like what it is, and they can see themselves doing it. And so we really take a great deal of interest in demonstration techniques and the training, and it's an ongoing process. And we have some great people. One of our first demonstrators was a guy called Bruce Smith, who's still with the company as a training manager. And he's been responsible for seeing a lot of people through and training hundreds of people. But it's gone on from there. It's changed. It's developed. And some of the people, I mean, in, let's say, in Magic times, if you haven't worked at the Marvin's Magic as a demonstrator, you probably haven't been around. Well, I would say 70-80% of the talent that we see now has come through the ranks. We've had, going back, Mark Paul was our first, who I know was a guest of yours, wasn't he?
He was indeed.
Paul, we brought him from Dorset to London to when we opened up Harrods in 1988. He then became our manager. We've had Andy Nyman, who of course is writes for Darren Brown and a fantastic actor, and was a wonderful Svengali demonstrator. He actually still reminds me every time I see him that he holds the record of selling the most in one day. I'm not so sure, but there we go. And then the late Anthony Owen, who was a BAFTA award-winning producer, came through us. So we had Nick Einhorn and Pete Wardell and actors who've gone on to big things, Tom Hollander and stunt guys and business speakers. And so in other words, what's really nice through the years that they all seem to acknowledge that it was a useful discipline to work with us, and these are my friends now, which is really great, and I speak to a lot. We all speak a lot regularly, and there's the ones. Listen, not everyone is going to be doing this for the rest of their life, but it's a time of your life when you're doing it that if you can excel and make the most of it, it's a really good experience, and I think gives life.
As you say, you mentioned some really amazing names there that are really notables in our industry and in other industries, like Andy Nyman, for example, is a great actor. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't he recently, last year or the year before, do Fiddler on the Roof?
He was. It was wonderful in that. And in fact, he would be working now had it not for the thing in Hello Dolly. He's a wonderful actor, and his son Preston, funny enough, was a second generation demonstrator who worked with us for a while. He's also going on to great things. So listen, I would apologize. I missed out, I'm sure, literally dozens, hundreds of names, but we're proud of them all. And if you feel part of the journey with Marvin's Magic, that's great.
Indeed. I think I want to ask, still to be brought up, a view and a photograph surrounded by a few awards, one of them being the Masculine Award. I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about that. Some people would have seen it on some of the promo material and posts that I've made. There it is. Now, again, over to you, and I'll let you explain some of what's happening and what's in front of you.
I feel so modest, No, I will tell you.
Marvin, please, because I'm going to get it wrong. I can't possibly do it justice. So it's not a question of modesty. Honestly, we're all pros here, and we understand.
Can you make it a bit bigger so it fills the screen a bit? The reality is, I'm obviously very proud of it. Been doing this a long time, and it's really nice to be recognised, especially by your peers. Particularly nice. Why that picture was really good, because it was over a period of a year or two back, and we've won, thankfully, many awards, 2 or 3 major awards since then. In fact, the Rubik's Cube magic set, which we talked about, we just heard last week that won the Independent Toy Award. So that's the hat trick of those years that we've won, which is really good. But let me talk through why I was particularly proud of this, because we won in 2 major industries. Obviously, the magic industry, which is where we're at. And as you say, the first one was the big cup there was from the International Brotherhood of Magicians. It's a special trophy, which, believe it or not, was named after my father, and I think he inaugurated. And some of the great names of magic over the years have won that. He's not part of the selection process, I promise you. Or maybe he is. Maybe that's why I've got it. No. I think it was the then presidents and the select committee looked through various things, and so that's for outstanding contribution into British Magic. So that was wonderful to receive that. And the other one from the Magic Circle was the masculine, which I'm really proud of, because again that was for I believe outstanding contribution as well, or outstanding service. I can't remember exactly the wordage, but I'm very proud to have received that, because again, you look at the names on there, and just to be part of that is a wonderful thing. And in fact, I think it's the first time there's a father and son who actually won it. So there we go.
Well,
and then the other ones was really pleased. One was the award for the best electronic toy of the year, which was our Marvin's iMagic that year, happened to come the same year. And the other one was from the Toy and Hobby Association, British Toy and Hobby Association, probably the most prestigious award, coincidentally came in the same year, and they gave it for outstanding contribution, because we've been doing it a long time, and to get all those at once, you could not get my head back through the door, I promise you. I was very proud. But can I just say, it's not me, it's not just me, it's my team. I'm so blessed to have a fantastic team around me, and what's really nice is a lot of them have come up. Some of them have been with me 25, 30 years, some 15 years, 10 years, but a lot of the key people in my organization some of them started as demonstrators with us and have come up the ranks. And my managing director is a young guy, he's only 34, Tom Hudson. He was an actor, great. Our sales director, Rakesh, has been with us for many, many years. And our financial director, Carolyn's been with us for years. My creative director, Justin Monaghan, is a great magician who worked with me and Kevin James on the Freaky Body Illusions. He was a demonstrator in the window at Hamleys. I remember when he was only, in the Young Magician of the Year competition back in 1987, when we sponsored it for a while. And I saw some talent there, and he came on board, and he works very closely with me to help design the products, and he does a great job. So all of my team, I'm very proud. I can't name them all. I have a head office team of about 15 or 20 people. We have about 70 or 80 demonstrators around the world. Obviously, at the moment, with the stores being slowly, it's tough times for those guys, but it's coming back. And listen, it's tough times for everybody. We're having to adapt, find different ways of working, and that's, I think, part of the challenge for everybody. And I just want to say, though, well, for all the magicians and artists watching or listening, my heart goes out. I really think the government should have done more. This entertainment business that we're in, we provide so much for so many people, and it generates such great funds all around the world, and tourism and stuff. And I just do think that some of the, sorry to get political here, but some of the self-employed people and the costumers and the production people and the AV people and the hire people and the actors and the, and the entertainers and the talent have been a bit not looked after perhaps quite how they should be. And I really hope that's going to change. I also do believe it will come back with a bounce, but, we just got to ride the storm.
Absolutely. What are the other awards that you mentioned that we don't have a photograph of?
They're just basically a game from the IMAX, for different sets that we've won and on that type of thing. I think that's enough of the awards. Come on.
No, well, why not?
Our trophy cabinet is, we need another one. Let's put it that way.
No, but as you rightly acknowledge, being the gentleman that you are, it's not just you. Well, it is you as the head man, the boss, the owner, CEO. But it's the team, and it's really nice that you acknowledge the team. I think there's a picture coming up of you holding some awards that maybe we haven't seen already. If we can pull that up.
Yeah, those will probably be a game for products and stuff. As I said, we won that 3 years in a row. Those for different products, which is first time that's happened. So we're delighted with that as well.
Oh wow, 3 years in a row, eh? Now I also know, and we should share this with people, that a number of, shall we say, notables, I prefer that word to famous, notable and, well-regarded magicians, both in magic and then people who love magic outside of magic, where actually became your friends and visited you and your dad and sometimes the shops, etc. I think we have one here with you. If we pull that up, there it is. Honestly, if you don't recognize the people in that photograph,
I think to
don't
sit
really,
on that,
I don't really know what you're doing here.
I don't recognize the guy in the mauve shirt, but all the others I know have got I think you have to have the name David to sit on that couch. You know, there's actually three of my favorite magicians.
Yeah.
Obviously, my father, David Berglas, David Blaine, who's done such a lot for taking magic further, and one of the all-time greats for me is Dave Williamson. And that picture was taken, I was very lucky to be invited by Luis de Matos, along with my dad, twice to the Essential Magic Conference in your home country, I think, of Portugal. You know, and it was a very innovative online digital conference, and with literally we were spoilt rotten and giving different lectures about different things. With some of the, I was sitting next to René Lebon, and you know, there was just, wherever you looked, it was phenomenal. So but I knew David obviously because I enjoyed his magic, working with him and watching him, should I say. But he partnered with us on one particular project. We've been lucky enough to partner with other magicians for products, like, as I said, Kevin James, when we did the Freaky Body Loopings, which was based on his hand, of course, which was a wonderful thing. And we worked with Michael Amar on certain products. When I used to do online TV, I did a lot of online TV shopping for the likes of QVC in America. And he was my guest on that as well. So TV shopping was a big part of our growth, actually. And 20 years ago or so, or over 20 years, when QVC started in the UK, we were one of the first companies that they approached, because television shopping in those days was probably even more painful than it is now. You know, it's like a real close-up of an object, you know, so this glass. Can you see it if I just do this, that, you know, and it was, and so to make it a little bit more interesting, they thought, you know, magic, that's going to be great. So and the fact that we had products, so we did 2-hour live magic shows, which is a great grounding. Did 150 hours of live TV of working with demonstrating products, and it went so well that they gave us 2 one-hour shows in America, in QVC in America, which goes into 63 million homes, and they ordered a lot of product. But it was difficult because you can imagine the products that they have 1,000 people on the switchboard to take the orders if it goes, and you've got to take a certain amount of dollars per minute, and I'm not talking hundreds, I'm talking a lot, to make it pay. And it was all what we call sale or return. In other words, we had to get it over there, label it in a certain way, and if it didn't sell, it was coming back. So big pressure gig, if there is one. And the first one we did, I mean, the magic was okay and did okay, you know, it was okay. But there's one particular art and craft with a touch of magic product which hit the roof, and I lit up the switchboard, and we did some serious numbers, and that really helped springboard us to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage, you know.
Indeed. Well, we were talking about we could be here till next Christmas next year, talking about all the various celebrities.
I am here till next Christmas.
No, not this Christmas. I meant 2021 Christmas. Talking about the long list of celebrities and different people that you know, but there's one in particular. This particular gentleman. Let's just pull him up.
Yeah, that's a young me with my dad. And that was another great day. I remember that well. That was when we pretty much had only been in Hamleys for a year or 2 or 3. And Michael Jackson was doing his Bad tour. The name of the tour was Bad. It wasn't bad. It was very good. And he was doing some stuff in the UK in stadiums, at Wembley Stadium, 100,000 people watching. And we got a call out of the blue that Jacko is in town and he loves magic. He loves toys. Is there a chance? Would you mind staying to do, would I mind? No, I'll be okay with that. You know, so they basically shut the store, only 3 or 4 people allowed in the store, blacked out all the windows, press, and hundreds of people, thousands of people outside pressed their nose against them. And we're inside and entertaining Michael Jackson, and he's loving it and getting our products, and so much so that it made a regular thing whenever he was in London and our store in New York. Actually, he would come in. He became vice president of the Marvin's Magic Club, and I was lucky enough to meet him several times, and more importantly, get some of the magicians that we spoke about also to perform for him, and so that was a very nice part of it, because the next day we were on the news, big Jacko's Magic in the papers, and it was a nice thing to look back on.
Yeah, great PR for you. Well, in common with a lot of people in another branch of showbiz, like Johnny Casson, Cary Grant, Tony Curtis, Jerry Lewis, they all love magic. And I was told, I've never met Michael Jackson, but I was told by people who have, that he used to travel with a gentleman who's no longer with us, called Mr. Majestic. And huge celebrities like him travel with doctors and hairdressers, etc., etc. He traveled with a magician called Mr. Majestic, who used to, between gigs or dressing rooms or whatever it was, do stuff and show it to him. And
we had him tied up in the stockroom in the back. We kept him there. To be fair, it wasn't necessary. He wasn't there when we were there. We thankfully, but he clearly must love magic. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
it's not the most unusual thing that we've heard about Jack.
Apparently he did. Well, time is just shooting away as it always does when you're having fun, and I'm not sure if we can cover a ton of stuff. But as you'll hear, I just want to share a very brief story. I remember 20 years ago at a FISM, I'm sitting there with, and these names are important, Stan Allen, John Mooring, and John Rockebarmer. And that July issue of Magic had John Rockebarmer on the cover, just his face like that, surrounded by a bunch of playing cards. Your dad came over, said hello, everybody stood up and greeted him. He then asked for a pack of cards, shuffled them, and then proceeded to deal the cards. And they absolutely matched all the cards on the cover of Magic. He then smiled, as only he can, nodded, and then walked away. John Mooring, Stan Allen, John Rockebarmer, and if you don't know John Rockebarmer, don't go near a deck of cards, okay? Literally, I'm not making this up, literally went.
Yeah.
So,
you know what?
yeah.
I mean, that's a wonderful story. And I, as I've got more and more steeped into magic, you realize, and I'm hearing more and more of the unbelievable things that he's done throughout his life and how he's revered, not just by hobbyists, but by professionals, and in fact, the top professionals. And I'd like to say and acknowledge and take this opportunity, if I can, to say that, firstly, his strapline of "Nothing is impossible" has been a big inspiration to me, because whilst I didn't want to hang on his coattails, and thankfully I've done okay, I know he's very proud of me, and I'm hugely proud of him. He's given me that sort of freedom, if you like, to think very positively about life and to try and do things that would seemingly be difficult. And so I've always enjoyed that challenge. I think that's the biggest thing. Can you imagine when you're a kid that one day, hey Dad, where are you going? Oh, I'm just going off to do a show. Where? Oh, I'm opening for the Rolling Stones. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that we had to, as a kid. Can you imagine? But also another story I just found out just recently. I don't know how much time we got, but I'm going to try and get this one in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great thing. I saw someone in a competition said, tell us something unusual. They said, I gave Austin Powers his title, International Man of Mystery. And I saw this on Twitter. And so I contacted him. That's interesting. Well, and it turned out he found out it was based on my dad's thing, because my dad's strapline was international. It used to be televisions. No, it used to be television and radio's Man of Mystery, then just television's Man of Mystery, then Man of Mystery, then International Man of Mystery. And in the stage newspapers like Variety in the States, he would have an advert with his contact details or his agent or whatever it was at the time. And it was an ongoing thing. And this guy was at Cambridge University. They had something called the Footlights Theatre, and he was there with Mike Myers and a couple of other people, and they loved that, and they kept that name. And he admitted 100%, and he acknowledges it was based on Dad's strapline. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it was. I mean, at one time, your dad had his own TV show in Holland, and along with another wonderful lady called Sylvia Schuer, who is part of our International Assembly from the Netherlands. They were both on the bill at one of the SAM conventions. I don't recall the year, but I know, they were out there. Now, as I say, I can't possibly hope to cover everything about everything. So what I will do is, I think that was a great note to end on. Your wonderful dad, and why not? 94, eh? And full marks to him, kind of saying, well, I'd love to come on the show, but, and wow, what a great thing to do.
I'm going to tease people very quickly, because there's a few of us, myself included, but some of his friends in magic who hold him in great esteem, and he's got such an amazing legacy and stuff, and he's put together some really interesting digital scrapbooks. He's got so many different things, and we're trying to get it all brought to life in some interesting way, and I don't want to tease a date, but in the future we're hoping to have some sort of real great record with all, celebrating his 70 years of mystery. We're going to actually have out there something to look forward to, and I'll make sure I'll let you know when it comes out.
Well, Marvin, rather, you're going to have to run and really, really fast. If you don't tell us, if you tell me, I'll make sure, that most people in the SAM and some of the other places that we hang out in get to know about it. And speaking of the SAM, there's very good reason why I didn't, but I want to introduce him right away, and that is most illustrious. Most illustrious, what does that mean? Well, this is how we have traditionally, for many, many years, addressed the president of the Society of American Magicians. For those of you who have not met him, let me please introduce you to most illustrious Dr. Joel Zaritsky. Here he is.
Hi, everyone. I'm real happy to be here. These shows are always outstanding, and so, Marvin, this one was fantastic. I can't wait to actually come to London, to England, to see you.
Be our guest. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, there you go. That was a great,
Thank you.
That's a great invitation. I'm sure you will be treated like royalty if you walk into the Magic Circle with Marvin Berglas. Well, you don't need to be a guest. You are a member. You just show your card and you walk in. It's that simple. I've just been told very briefly, and I must acknowledge him, two gentlemen, in fact. One is Tom Gentile, who's just walked into the room, I gather. Mr. Tom Gentile is the successor to Joel Zaritsky, who will finish his presidency in July of next year, and he will be taken over by Mr. Tom Gentile. So if we can just highlight Mr. Tom Gentile for a moment, that would be good. You there, Tom? Oh, there he is. Yes. Nice to have you join us.
What an amazing talk, Marvin. Thank you.
My pleasure. Great to be here.
I did not know about the Toy and Hobby Award and all your positioning in 64 different countries. That's excellent to get the magic out there.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Marvin, in fact, as he has mentioned, probably not as much as he should have, so I will. The company, Marvin's Magic, and of course Marvin himself, has been sponsoring and helping and aiding many, many young magician organizations, and I am going to be talking to him and then eventually to Alan Solomon to maybe get together and do something in the way of promotion and marketing for the SYM, which is the junior division of the SAM. I know you do it for the Magic Circle, and indeed when we first met, when over at Home Counties for the Young Magician and then Young Magician of the Year at the Magic Circle and so on. I also very, very quickly want to acknowledge another officer of the SAM. I can't possibly acknowledge everybody and every celebrity, and that is Mr. Rod Chow, who is the first vice president here from Canada. So it shows you that we have SAM members all over the world. And yes, you can join the SAM. It doesn't be an American. You're not an American, Rod. You're a Canadian, right?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Anthony. Marvin, that was excellent. That was so interesting to hear you talk about that. And congratulations on all your successes.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've come to that time where less is more. And I will bring you more eventually when Marvin tells us about all the cataloging he's doing on his dad, etc. I'm very thrilled and honored and blessed that I was able to include a small piece with the help of a friend of mine called Spiros Malaris in MUM in the August issue, which featured 11 other notables in the Magic Circle from different countries. And one of them, of course, that we absolutely had to feature was Mr. David Berglas, MBE. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think back to less is more. I will now ask for the chat to be opened and indeed your mics. Please feel free to chat with Marvin and ask any questions you want. If you put it in chat, I'll read it out. If you want to address him yourself, put your mic on and go ahead and do so. We have about 10 minutes, 15 tops, okay? Right.
Hi, Anthony.
Oh, hello, hello. Yeah, I know who that is. That's the secretary of the Newcastle Magic Club. Yes, go ahead.
That's right. Sorry, I haven't got the video on. I'm on the phone. I didn't want to miss tonight. Marvin won't remember my name as such, but he might remember something. A strange person contacted him about 12, 13, 14 years ago, and asking him if he had any magic sets that were exclusive, but that were not, that he wanted to sell as a bulk lot. And it was the Magic Deluxe, because I used to have an online shop, and obviously being a magician, I thought Marvin's Magic, they did the best magic sets. So yes, so after a little bit of negotiation, 500 arrived on a pallet. I got the less. I think it was about 500. The last of the. I was the only one in the UK selling them. I think maybe worldwide. I think it was the last bunch of them. So I don't know if Marvin would remember that kind of an order just from a random individual. Yeah, that was me.
Do you know what? Do you know what, Tony? Those are highly collectible now. They're going, on eBay for a lot of money. So you would have been better just to keep them and. 25 years later,
I've sold them. I've sold them. They've all gone. They didn't. I'm trying to say. Yeah, they all actually went. So I don't actually have them anymore. But yeah, that was me. That place, that order, and
thank you for your order. Thank you for your order. And next time, speak to me directly, and I'll charge you double. All right?
Yes. Oh yes. Well, it was. I'm sure it was yourself I was dealing with. But no, you were very. It was a very good deal, so I was very pleased with it. But I just wanted to say hi anyway.
Well, good. Thank you for dropping by, Tony Jr. He's from the UK, as I mentioned, the secretary of the Newcastle, but he's also connected with different magic clubs all over. And I'm delighted to tell you that in the last couple of weeks, he has joined the Society of American Magicians, and in fact, is a member of our International Assembly. So, Martin, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pronounce your name correctly, sir. Forgive me. Martin Hosilk. What a great show. We'll check out your magic sets. Thank you. Anybody else want to put their mic on and speak directly to Marvin? Please feel free.
Marvin. My name is David First, and I'm going to do some magic stuff, and I found this nice little booklet. 110 magic tricks with everyday objects. Some great stuff in here. It's great that you start off with the, young people and, get them interested on the right way and, learning. And I've done magic at FAO. I'm from New York, and I met you there. And when they had their a certain magic event, they would hire me. And I met you, and it was like really nice talking with you, and I appreciate that. And thank you, Anthony and Joel, because these are great. And just want to say there's some great stuff, and keep up the great work, and all the best to your family, because, you're keeping the hobby pure and you're keeping the magic dream alive. So love it.
Thank you, David. I recognize the name, and I remember meeting you. And as I say, FAO is a very big part of our history, and it's a great place. So drop by if anyone's in New York. Thank you, David.
David's a good regular to all the Darkstone Dossier shows. And you spoke about Kevin James earlier. Couple of weeks ago, we actually had him on the show, Kevin James on the Darkstone Dossiers. A gentleman called Ken YY says, what makes your basic magic sets unique in comparison with others? Oh, that's an interesting question. Over to you, Marvin.
I think, for the reasons I said before, that the instructions are written by people who really know about it. You know, unfortunately, sometimes you can get a magic set from a toy company which would have just got it from the Far East, and as an example, the instructions are badly translated, they're not age appropriate. As I said, everything we try and do is to push the boundaries, to encourage the magicians to go step by step and do some really great things. So we've got some very innovative magic, as well as some traditional things, and the design is good, and we want people to feel proud about their magic and take them on a journey throughout their whole life. So we want to exceed the customer's expectations. For example, in some of our sets, even the box is an illusion, and then when you get inside, it's layered, and so there's some great things. And obviously, it's a challenge because you have to work at all different price points and stuff. But we're really going back to our roots of quality and innovation at affordable prices.
Well, somebody called Joe. I'm not quite sure which Joe this is, but whoever you are, it says, "Thank you, Marvin and Anthony, for a fun afternoon." Well, you're most welcome. And the other gentleman says, "Hi, Marvin. Really enjoyed your interview tonight. I had a Marvin's Magic set when I was younger, and I loved it. Do you think that demonstrating magic will be a big part of your strategy in the future, even in our current world of online magic videos?" From Michael Grist in Newcastle, England.
Michael, that's a great question. And very interestingly, the way that we market our products would be to take them to trade shows. There's in the toy industry, magic sets would historically be a sort of fourth quarter item for the holidays, and that means they have to buy them earlier in the year. So the way it normally works is in the previous year, October through February, you are previewing them, and we would do a roadshow. We have a showroom in Hong Kong, we do shows in Dallas, in Nuremberg in New York, Nuremberg in Germany, London, and then Australia. So it's a roadshow that we have to do. And now, obviously, they're talking about cancelling a lot of these things, and you're not able to see the buyers. So we have to adapt. In fact, in our head office, we've just built just finishing our digital virtual showroom, so it's more than just a Zoom. We're trying to make it a little bit of a theatrical way. And I think what's great about magic, unlike with respect selling insurance or nuts and bolts, it's such a visual item that, you know, the sort of gigs I'm doing now, people always tell me, "Hey, it was the best meeting I've had all year. It's great fun." They look forward to it. You know, we'll go and see one of our customers, which is a big multinational supermarket, and starts off very frosty. But then when you know, magic brings people to life, doesn't it? And when you do some great stuff, it's fun, and it get people's barriers come down, and they're like little kids again. And the next year we find all of a sudden they brought their assistants and their boss, and the next year it was a whole big show that we're doing. So I've learned how to do to control those type of things, and we're having to take magic to a whole digital thing as well.
Okay, thank you. Excellent answer. Tom says to everybody, "Excellent tonight. Thank you much." I'm not sure which Tom that is, but whoever you are, thank you. It may be our Tom Gentile. It may not. I don't know. Okay, we are fast approaching that. We have a few minutes left, so please feel free to put something in the chat.
Yeah, I have a question, if I may. Hi, Marvin. We met briefly at Blackpool last year. And on my return back to Bristol in UK, walked into my local supermarket, and there was a very big Marvin's Magic set, which I've bought for my grandson. And he's only sort of 5, coming up 6 now. And the last time I saw him, I took down some little Gazinta boxes and did the little trick with him. And because of the nature of the trick, he could do that himself. But the real fun thing for me was he actually thought that he was doing real magic rather than doing the trick. And it was absolutely wonderful. And I've got a dilemma now. When do I give him the magic? Because he still believes in Father Christmas, and I don't want to break the illusion for him.
How old is he? Tell me he's not 34.
5 coming up.
How old is he?
How old is he?
5. Coming up to 6, yeah. 6.
I think that's a personal decision. I've got twin boys, and they're now 20. Let's have a think. I reckon 6, 7 is about the right time. If they're going to have a bit of fun in the meantime, it's a very personal thing. But you're right, just that wide-eyed amazement and the fact the whole point with Marvel's Magic is that we try so hard to inspire the kids so they do feel that they can concentrate on their personality. So for example, something like a draw box, for example, is or a coloring book, such a nice thing to do and relatively easy technically, but it allows the kids to sort of come out and give some confidence and presentational skills, which is, as we know, as important as the technical technique of the trick. And so that's really, you know, there's Richard Wiseman did some reports recently to show how people who are into magic have better confidence and good presentational skills, and it brings them out of their shell and they go on to learn well generally. So it's such a wonderful hobby and profession. You know, we're lucky that we're bringing happiness to people.
Gee, we have a question from Mr. Paul Cooper, who says, thanks, Marvin. How often and on what basis do you change the items included in your magic sets? I suppose it depends on the set and the age range, I guess. I mean, yeah. What's your answer?
Well, basically, we, you know, in our portfolio of products, we have, you know, maybe on average 70 or 80 SKUs, that stock keeping units, various things that we would offer each year. And sometimes you give too much choice to people. If you've got too much choice, you know, it's like in the old-fashioned bricks and mortar magic shop. When we were first opened, we had so many different things, and people would come and say, what does that one do? And the guy would demonstrate, what was that one do? What was that? I'll think about it. So now we have to use our time carefully. The same philosophy with the customer. We basically put our best things together in one, and we recommend these. So you get these as individual, but if you buy these all together, it's a saving of this, that, the other. And that is really how we try and do it with the buyers, because the best things stay there. And actually, there's new generations can sell year after year, but we always, as I said earlier, come up with innovations or a point of difference, like this augmented reality. Everyone has a tablet or a phone now. And so imagine being able to get a rabbit coming out of a hat, for example, which is on the table, through your phone, or a little character that could do some mind reading, and some very clever principles. There's some very clever people out there that we work along with, and I think, you know, we try hard. In fact, if anybody out there has got some great magic ideas or something they want to share, we work in different ways with people. We'd be delighted to consider if they feel it's appropriate for the general public, which means it's got to have a start, a middle, a finish. It's got to be a relatively simple skill and something they can achieve with the gimmick, ideally. And if it's a winner on its own, a demonstration item on its own, we would really reward that well. And if it's something which would just be an item for a magic set, that would also be considered. But, you know, we're happy to work with. There's a lot of great minds out there, and I'm sure we'd be very delighted to entertain any ideas.
Well, if there's anybody else on the chat, or if you'd like to ask Marvin directly a question via your microphone, we have 3 or 4 or 5 minutes left, possibly. No? Okay, good. Well, that was a good note to end on. All remains is for me to say a huge thank you to most illustrious Dr. Joel Zawitsky, and a man you have not seen, Brett Saul, who let you in, who's not going to close the doors and charge you to get out. No, that's an old Groucho Marx gag. No, he's not. So I always like to acknowledge him. He takes care of it and looks after everything. Oh, we have one fast question, and then I think we're going to have to wrap. This is from, a gentleman I know very well in Turkey, from an IBM ring there, which he is responsible for. It says, hello, Marvin. I wanted to know if being the son of a legendary dad is an advantage or vice versa.
Great question. I think it has pluses and minuses. For me, ultimately, there's more pluses than minuses. It depends how you look at things. I'm a very positive, upbeat person, so I'll take it as a good thing. There's many cases of famous families where you have tragedies because it's very hard to live off the coattails, as I say, of famous parents. But I think I went a slightly different route on purpose. Didn't want to have exact comparisons, and I'm very proud. In fact, I would just say my dad's very famous book was he paid me the ultimate compliment. The final chapter of his big tome, which is all about his life and his various effects. He said he was in latter part of his life. He was walking in Hyde Park, and a very attractive girl with another girl, sort of kept looking around at him. So he held his stomach in, and he and he sort of, you know, thought, I still got it, type of he was thinking, and he's thinking, I wonder why she looked at me. Is it because she perhaps knows me from my TV series that was on? Perhaps she knew I was the president of the Magic Circle from 1989 to 98. Perhaps she's seen some of my corporate stuff. Perhaps she's read a book that I've written. I don't know. And then she comes over to him and expecting to sign an autograph or have a picture. She said, "Are you really the father of Marvin Berglas?"
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can't top that story. We can't. We have many, but we can't top that. All remains, in fact, then, is on behalf of the SAM, on behalf of the SAM International Assembly, and indeed from me personally. We've known each other a goodly while, Marvin. From me personally, and indeed professionally, and to thank, as I say, most illustrious, and indeed Brett Soul, the man behind the scenes who does good stuff, to express our wonderful thanks to you, Marvin, for sharing some of your many highlights, and indeed a few words from your dad. And please thank him from us for that very gracious and thoughtful message that he put out. I'm sure all of us would have loved to have him on here, even if it's for a few minutes. But you know what? Being realistic, he's right. He's 94, technology and stuff. I'm not saying he doesn't know technology.
No, believe me, he knows more than I do.
Yeah,
Believe me,
probably. I don't mean it in that sense. I meant if it fails or whatever, you know. So I think the thinking was agreed by everybody that perhaps, you know, another time.
Actually, you know what it was, Anthony? You know what it was? Yeah. I think he's got his salsa dance class tonight, and then his hang gliding tomorrow, and he wanted to be okay with that. So we're not so sure, you know.
Now, you shouldn't have shared that, but now that you have, everybody knows. Marvin, thank you so much on behalf of all the people I've mentioned, and I'm sure every single attendee would join me in saying a huge thank you to you. Yes, please put your mics on and clap your hands, by all means. Or put
Thank
this
you so much.
Thank
you so much. It's been a real pleasure. And thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a magical Saturday and Sunday and a magical week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.